Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Alliance Tournament 14, match 108. I'm Chesser. This is moderator joining me here for the last match of the evening. I'll be introducing the R0NIN versus Tuskers. R0NIN decided to bring triple battleship, Vindy Ball, Navy Mega, Guardian Megas, double Pontifex Purifier, the Crucifier, which I really like, and the Merlin. Talk to me, Mod. What have Tuskers brought?
Yeah, Tuskers have brought the double Flume Core, a Balgorn, an Oneros, a Gnosis, a Hyena, two Purifiers, a Hound, and a Cruor.
I'm really interested to see what R0NIN is going to be able to do with this Crucifier. I think that the Crucifier is a really good ship for its points. I mean, missile TDs or just regular TDs, I think are going to be really strong. Match is beginning now.
Yeah, I expect if it's going to be a missile TD, you'd want to put them on the Fleet Typhoons to reduce any sort of rapid heavy or cruise damage, and we can see instead that they're putting it onto a Hound, not a bad choice. Immediately, though, the Vindicators are completely webbed down and immediately taking damage. They're already bleeding some armor.
Yeah, they're getting absolutely screened down by the Cruor, and they're unable to close range. There's also a Balgorn. Bringing a blaster comp like this against Tuskers when they're going to have a Cruor and a Balgorn they're ready to screen you is going to be very, very tricky. If these Vindicators and Megas cannot get into range, is Vindicator taking heavy damage now from the entire Tusker team. If they cannot get into range, Mod, I don't think they're going to be able to do any damage at all.
Yeah, initially the Tuskers Balgorn so he's now webbed, he's now neuted, he's counter-tackled. So what they need to do for R0NIN is that R0NIN needs to counter-newt this Balgorn to keep the newts off of the team, and then they try to shut down the webs onto the Vindicator and the Balgorn. However, it's not apparently enough, is that Vindicator for R0NIN is already into half armor.
Yeah, the Mega and the Vindicator are just closing in very slowly on Tuskers' team, though. They're just leading the charge, just bleeding EHP along the way. The question is can the rest of the team follow them and keep them up? They're slowly getting range down on the Balgorn of Suleiman, but they're taking a long time to close the range, and right now Tuskers is playing this absolutely perfectly. Wonderful mechanics on their side, just kiting out the entire R0NIN team, which has basically just fallen into step behind this Vindicator Navy Mega just burning into Tuskers.
Yeah, outside of these Vindicator, the Balgorn, and the Navy Mega, R0NIN really has no major damage. That's almost all their DPS is pushed onto 3 ships. Once you control those 3 ships, actually a newt and a web coming off of that Vindicator for R0NIN, so he's now going to be free.
This Vindicator is slowly closing into range. Navy Mega finally getting on top of Suleiman in the Balgorn, but I almost wonder if it's too little too late. If this Vindicator dies before even shooting a shot, Tuskers is going to be in a commanding position.
Yes, I'm not sure if that's the flagship Balgorn. I suspect it might be. However, so if they lose that on Tusker side, it will be a major loss. We can see, though, that Hoodie Mafia is getting pre-repped. He's taking some incoming damage. Very well played by, I assume, Latronicus or Skylar to get those reps on top of him already.
Man, this Vindicator hanging on by the hair of his teeth. He's going to go down. Vindicator is down. Wow, Tusker's playing this perfectly. Kited out the Vindicator under the webs. It was a web versus web kite. Vindicator and Navy Mega slowly closing range, but Tusker's playing it wonderfully, stopping the Vindy from getting close, allowing the Navy Mega close in, but it does a lot less damage. And with a battleship down, the core battleship down with nothing to trade for it, Tuskers looking good.
Yeah, Tuskers are in a very good commanding lead right now. They're putting damage onto the Navy Megathron. You can see he's got every kind of E-War possible on top of him, and not even needing to put damage on top of him. The Pontifexes aren't really able to do much damage, and we can see that the Balgorn was a flag Balgorn for Tuskers Company.
You know, I think that Tuskers is just playing this absolutely perfectly. They've already figured out that they can break through a Vindicator under full links, full Logi, doesn't matter, and they're just moving on to the Navy Mega now, saving the Balgorn for last, which is smartest because Balgorn does very limited DPS. There's no way it's going to be able to break through an Oneros reps as well as just like the absolute EHP bricks that are Fleet Typhoons and the Balgorn. Tuskers just showing that they are one of the most dangerous teams in the tournament. You know, R0NIN, I think coming in with a setup that is looks good on paper and looks good against bad teams, but against a team that understands the meta as well as Tuskers does and has the ability and the mechanics to kite out your Vindicator and your Balgorns under their own webs of their Balgorns, blaster ships just look really foolish.
Yeah, Tuskers has those 3 bombers, right, and they're going to be doing roughly equivalent damage to just the 2 Fleet Typhoons. R0NIN has no answer on their entire team for those Hounds except for the Crucifier, and he can't put missile TDs on every single ship that Tuskers has.
Yeah, R0NIN's team is not balanced. The entire team is based around this entire battleship core of Vindicator, Balgor, Navy Mega. And the fact for a Vindicator to go down without even trading any damage to Tuskers' team is just a sign of how one-dimensional their type of setup was compared to what Tuskers has, which is a much more well-rounded type of setup. And not only is it well-rounded, but the piloting on Tuskers is perfect. You know, Suleiman is an extremely competent pilot. He has a long storied history in the AT.
We see that with the Guardians now dropped. They got good tackle on top of him, and once they were able to do that, they neutered him down, shut down his propulsion module. He was at no speed, just like this Navy Megathron that's going to be the new primary, and then he popped instantly.
Yeah, like I said, Suleiman, the entire Tuskers outfit, surgical, playing this very well. And you know what's interesting is they're not even bringing out a setup that one would consider very crazy or out of the meta. We've seen these types of battleship compositions before. Nothing too crazy here. Not even using AT ships, no bling, nothing, and they are just absolutely curb stomping with it.
Yeah, so far they're able to manhandle R0NIN. The Navy Megathron is into hull now. They might lose a Hound. I'm kind of curious as to how Skylar Hawk managed to get neuted and nosed in his Oneros, but it doesn't seem like it matters. They're breaking the Navy Megathron. They've already killed the Vindicator. R0NIN has no damage. Tuskers is going to be up commandingly. They're not going to lose a single ship, and they're going to completely wipe R0NIN.
Yeah, I mean, if I was watching the AT right now, Mod, and I was a competitor, I would be looking at this match and I'd be very, very afraid. Tuskers taking out R0NIN, R0NIN is not a slouch team. They've consistently done fairly well in the AT. They at least have some understanding of the meta. But for Tuskers to, oh, there goes the Hound. They did drop a Hound, but for Tuskers to play in this manner and to convincingly win against a composition that a lot of teams may consider quite strongly has to be scary.
Yeah, so Tuskers really is showing R0NIN absolutely zero respect, to be quite honest. They're bringing a very default, generic setup that they could bring against any other team, and they're showing none of their hand. They're keeping all their secret core setups late into the tournament. They're showing them no respect. They're saying, you are not worth our time. We're going to bring an average setup, and we're going to beat you with it nearly perfectly. And they're doing so just fine.
Yeah, I really think that the Tuskers outfit in general, I personally think they're one of the favorites to win the Alliance tournament this year, I think. R0NIN putting up a good fight, but they're going to be in the loser's bracket after this. Tuskers only losing a Hound, and I really don't see the DPS coming out on R0NIN's side where they're going to possibly have any chance of losing anything else minus massive piloting error. But the mechanical piloting that I've seen out of Tuskers so far, just handling the initial charge of the Vindicator and the Navy Mega coming in and just absolutely surgically picking it apart, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I have to wonder, if you're the R0NIN, why do you bring two Pontifexes as opposed to maybe an Astarte instead of a Navy Megathron, and then bringing more utility in your support wing? Maybe some sort of a Spiteball, a Confessor, something that can do actual tackle so that it can get on top of a ship and then allow your Balgor and your Vindicator, your Navy Megathron to close to range and then actually do the blaster damage that you need in order to break anything.
I think what we're seeing right here is the shortcomings of having a blaster composition. When we've seen this before, all of these blaster ships look really good on paper. They have a lot of DPS, face-melting DPS. The issue is, especially in a meta like this where blood ships are going to be prioritized with those long webs, you're just not going to be able to get into range ever. And you just, you know, it has to be exhausting being that bad because you literally MWD through webs all the way to the enemy team, and before you can even put guns on target, you're dead or you're completely neuted out, and your entire team is just getting picked off behind you as they attempt to follow, you know, your heroic charge into enemy noobs and webs.
Okay, in fairness, R0NIN has always been a team that has came in the top 8. In AT12, famously, they knocked out Hydra Reloaded from the losers bracket, and they've been always a team that can come up with an upset. But they tend to bring kind of these weird, strange, not fully fleshed out comps, but they have very good individual players that can actually make them work well enough to get into the top 8. But Tuskers is showing the difference between a team that is poised to try to take the entire tournament versus a kind of a, I don't want to use the term tier, but there's no other way around it, kind of a top 8 team.
Yeah, you know, and nothing against R0NIN. I just mean blaster ships in general just get exhausted. And you can see it in this tournament, just literally running through with their MWD, trying to get in range, webbed, counter-webbed, neuted. You just get exhausted trying to do anything with blaster comps. And the only time I've seen a blaster comp win is against very poor teams. But in general, once especially you get to the end of the third day on second weekend, you just can't bring it anymore. You have to have a better understanding. You have to show that you understand that blasters are bad for X, Y, and Z reasons, and I just didn't see it here.
Right, and with that, Tuskers is going to have a nearly perfect victory over the R0NIN, and we're going to send it back to the analysis desk.